Get a drill.
Freedom is very fragile. It's more fragile when we don't know the truth. You're about to be part of FramersView, where truth is the foundation of every day's program. Join us live every weekday right here on Rumble at 1 p.m. Eastern. Now, here's Neil Frame on FramersView.
Here he is. Welcome to the show. It is a Monday. It says so right here on my sheet. Monday says so. Welcome to the show, man. This is a big day. This is the biggest day that I've had since me and the founders put everything together. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not that old. I'm close to it, though. I am close to it. So welcome to the show. Hey, so 250 celebration this week. It's a big deal. Everybody's, going to celebrate. I can't imagine what Saturday's going to be as far as fireworks and everything that goes on. I've had this weekend just going through stuff, and I told you last Friday that I was going to include some history and some stories that you need to know about before, or rather during the show. And I'm going to do that. But it's a big step to go through history and show what's going on right now. But we'll get that. We'll manage that. So welcome to the show. Hey, do me a favor if you would. Click on the like and subscribe. Just click on everything that's on my show. Just click. It will helps me build my show, and I'm trying to do my best to get this thing rocking and rolling. So, by the way, excuse the piano. There's a piano student going on upstairs, which is not doing that alone. My wife teaches piano. It's annoying. I don't have doors to my studio right now, and maybe one day I'll get that taken care of. So, I didn't plan this. I truly didn't plan this. So you'll notice when you take a look at the show, if you look at the screen, it says FramersView episode, and then there's a number for the episode. The episode for today is 250, and we're starting the 250 celebration. I mean, what are the chances? And the answer is, it seems like there's almost no chance. So this is the 250th episode, and I invite you to comment, put anything in there on your chat, whatever you want to do, but stay with me. I'm going to try to give you some good information. There's good and bad. There's good and bad. And there's some good things I'm going to show you today. There's some bad, as in the loonies. And, I want to make it clear that it's very obvious that other than, and I'm not even convinced that Hakeem Jeffries is against all these socialists. We don't know that. But what I do know, or what I do think, is they're afraid to go up against these people. I'm going to show you today some people that have gone off their rocker that's got elected. Earlier on, we're going to have a person that's running for an election right here in Colorado that is, let's just put it this way, is undoubtedly scary. And some history on that person. We also have some things with those that are doubling down, especially in Minnesota, where I guess they had to decide, okay, we just turn ourselves in and let them do what they have to us, or maybe we double down and support the Somalis and all the people that have been involved with the fraud. And that seems to be where they're going. James Carville, he's got some things that his thoughts, and corrections on some of that. And then we'll do some presidential history stuff and some amazing inventions and point out Karl Marx, one of the heroes of the socialists, one of the heroes of, how all of this should be working in the United States like it does in every other country, and just see where they go with that. So, it's about people who love America, people who don't, crazy ideas, and more. So, look, if you don't think or if you don't see the importance of us keeping America on track, I think today will help you with that. And I want to keep you with me to be able to show you this. As the World Cup came in, I was thinking to myself before the World Cup, what's going to make any changes? Has Trump really made any changes that would make people appreciate things? And I've got two examples of that. One was, if you go back over a year ago, when I was on the show, and I said, when they announced that Pete Hegseth was going to be, at that point in time, the Department of Defense, now the Department of War. And I said, he'll do a great job, but the most important point that I made was, he is going to turn the volume up and bringing more and more people into the military services. And guess what? He did that. And he did that he's one of them. And you could say, well, so is every other general that was Department of Defense. Not like this. This is a guy that's doing the push-ups with everybody. He's doing pull-ups. He's working out with the guys. He's running with them. He's there. He's involved. And these people that are joining are looking at that and say, I want to be part of this. And that's what this should be. Without question, that's what it should be. So that's number one. And number two, this issue with the Europeans coming to the World Cup here in Canada and the US and all the games that are Mexico, these games that are going on, and the people that are in the US from Europe are blown away. They're blown away by the volume of things available. People walk into these stores, a Costco, a Walmart, a Kmart, not a Kmart, but what's the other one I never go to? Target. Target. It's the expensive version of Walmart, but doesn't have the same amount of stuff. But they look at that and they go, look at this building. It's huge. It's full of stuff. You can find anything you want there. And then you say to yourself, we just take that for granted. We just go, well, yeah, it's always there. When we go to Costco and something we bought the last month, because we go once a month to Costco, and we pick up all the supplies we need. We've gotten to a point where we know what we're going to want, what we need, and we buy it on a monthly basis because it's not close to us. And, we go there and then we're pissed off because something that we always buy isn't there. Well, there's two reasons for that, two possible reasons. One is Costco can't get their price. And if they can't get their price and it won't sell, they're not going to put it out there. Two, and I think this is relatively important, not only is the price the issue, but they look at it and say, it's not selling. We may buy it. It may be valuable to us. But when you think of the millions of people that go to Costco, not just our store, but across the nation, if it doesn't sell, they don't make a deal with these people. And that really happens at Walmart in a different way, because Walmart's itty-bitty little items and the volume of inventory, I would think, is much larger than what Costco's inventory is. But, the story of Costco is amazing. In fact, I got it behind me here. I was reading a story in AARP, which I'm a member of, and they send out the magazine, and they had the story of Costco and how it started from Price Club and the mergers that happened and everything. It's a membership program. It's not for everybody. And Walmart is for everybody, no matter who you are, how much butt crack you're going to show, what you're going to do when you go to the store, who you're going to rob. That's not what they're looking for at Costco. But that's how it works. So we're going to look at that history and the plan. But the first thing I want to show you is some comments about, I asked the question about, what was said about the World Cup people and their feelings about the U.S. Look at this. So this was what I did with Grok. Is a problem for the U.S.? Is it a problem that the World Cup people are excited about it? They said, Grok said, no, that's not exactly what was said. But a political article from yesterday, that was a few days ago, has the closest match. It's headline, Democrats, you love this, grapple uncomfortably with World Cup success. And the subhead says, a logistically smooth tournament poses a problem for Trump critics. Think about that. This is Politico, not one of your big Republican conservative article companies. And they're saying, hey, this is a problem for the Dems. The piece notes that the Democrats' strong start with packed stadiums and few issues has been awkward for Democrats who criticized the Trump administration preparations beforehand. One strategist, Bob Flattery, said there was some liberal wish casting that this would maybe be a disaster to sort of stick it to Trump. It hasn't yet. So it's more about political optics than anyone literally calling World Cup success bad for the country. That's a profound statement and a disconcerting thing, that you could have something as big, as popular as the World Cup soccer. We didn't even know what soccer was when I was a kid. Soccer was nothing. Soccer and a few other sports that were nothing are now big deals. And a lot of the soccer players are because mom and dad are saying, I don't want you on that football field. Head injuries. They don't want that. Well, okay, so they play soccer, and then it becomes a World Cup. Well, first it becomes a huge popular sport. Here in Colorado, we've got the Rapids, and they're a pretty big deal. They're getting a lot of audience. They didn't used to get that audience. So it's a growth factor, and they were praying to God this thing would collapse, that it wouldn't work. They planned it so that it would be in multiple locations. How would they ever keep track of that? And that goes on and long down the process of, hating America. Hate, hate, hate. That's all they've got. You got to hate. And that's pretty sad. But we'll get past it eventually. And the reason I say that, I've got an example. And this is a candidate in Colorado running for Congress. She's going to be going up against Diana DeGette, who's been a liberal in the bluest part of Colorado, which is already blue. I mean, this is dark blue. And she'll probably win. But when you watch what she says, it should really scare you. And then I've got some more to share with you, but watch this.
And we have to pass Medicare for all. We have to get that done in the next Democratic administration. That's how we MAGA-proof our future. That's how we guarantee that whatever sycophant fills Donald Trump's shoes in 2032 and tries to lay blame on all of our vulnerable communities for why the system is rigged, we can point to a piece of legislation that we passed that meaningfully helped working families. And the only way we get Medicare for all passed is by getting rid of the Democrats that are actively standing in that way, by taking money from the same interests that don't want to see Medicare for all passed.
Well, that's fine. But look at this. So she is a candidate for Congress in Colorado, as I said. She's just a kid. She's 29 years old, Democratic Socialist, running in Tuesday's primary. That's tomorrow, Colorado's first congressional district. She's Ethiopian American, immigrated as a baby. Gee, I wonder if we won't get into that. Worked as a lawyer, now a PhD student and a barista. She's challenging longtime incumbent Diana DeGette with endorsements from Bernie Sanders, Justice Democrats, and DSA. Her big pushes are Medicare for all, affordable housing, and campaign finance reform. And Bernie's getting her money. Has she ever had a real job? I asked Grok. Yeah, she's had a real job. She worked as a securities regulatory associate in Sidley, Austin, a major New York law firm. Right after graduating from Notre Dame, God, I hate to hear that. She got fired in 23 after writing an article defending pro-Palestine student protesters. Now she's a PhD student in public policy and works as a barista to cover her bills. So, lawyer and barista both count as real work. There she is. She's scary for America, though, isn't she? I asked. I get why people find her politics scary, but she's not a serious threat to America. She's a 29-year-old with no government experience running in a safe blue district against a 20-plus year incumbent. Even if she somehow won, she'd be one of the 435 members of Congress with no power to pass anything on her own. The system's built to slow down radicals. Well, okay, so let's say that's the case. Here's what the problem is on that. The problem is that there are a number of those people who have no power, who are small, who are nothing there, who's not a big deal. And when those people all gather together and make it impossible for the Democrats to even do anything, I was going to say common sense, but close to common sense, what's going to happen? The answer is what's going to happen is that they're going to get more power, and then there'll be people that'll break off, and then we've got other candidates. It's not this one woman that's running in Colorado. It's Detroit. It's Dearborn, but Detroit area. It's a lot of these candidates that are socialist lunatics. And what will happen? Well, we really don't know. We don't know. We'll find out. So, with all that said, these candidates and who's winning and losing is scary. That's without a question. But there's more to it. So, who was the leader of getting this whole thing started? And the answer is the leader is Mamdani. He got in. Then he supported Katie, whatever her name is, in Seattle, who became the mayor of Seattle, who had virtually no experience, was living in her basement with her mom and dad before she became governor. Like Mamdani, who never really had a job and then became mayor of New York City. And he is supporting all of these people. Well, watch this. This is George Carl talking to Mamdani and asking him some really interesting questions. Listen to his answers.
But how does abolishing prisons or having open borders fit into that? I mean, do you see how those are ideas that a lot of your Democrats that are warning about what happened here say are toxic. Most of America won't go along with it, are bad ideas. They're dangerous ideas.
I think what the focus of her race was, what the focus of her candidacy was about the struggle that working people are facing. And I think that we can have disagreements on policy positions. What we have to agree on is what are we fighting for and who are we fighting for? She showed that in her race, and I think that many people will come to appreciate that in her leadership to come.
So we can disagree on something as basic as whether or not there should be prisons? That's not your position.
There are prisons, yes. And what we're also showing in this city is that safety is not something that's up for debate.
Well, safety is not up for debate.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Yes, you did. You voters that voted for Mamdani and voted for Katie Wilson up in Seattle, the ones that'll probably vote for this moron here in Colorado because we're becoming a socialist state for all intents and purposes. All of this is going on, and those who are not paying attention, it's a real concern. It's a real concern for America. It's a real concern for each state. It's crazy. And I don't think everybody's wrapped their head around this. It isn't about, Quiros, who's a candidate in Colorado, or Graham Plattner that's in Maine. It's not about those individual people. It's about, like the Squad. When the Squad got elected and got into office, they became a powerful force. Now, sometimes powerful force is good. But in this case, this isn't good. This is a undeniable socialist push with the supporters of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and other people that are powerful people that are on that left fringe establishment group. We don't need that. We don't need that at all. But, and don't forget about, I think he's probably worse than we know, Jacob Fry in Minnesota, which I'm going to show you here in a minute. I think he's just a spineless, feckless, I'll just follow whatever works for me so I can stay in office guy. We'll see. We'll find out. But it won't be as easy as they think it is if the Democrats stand up. If we can get, the Republicans stand up. If the Republicans stand up, they tell their friends, vote, here's why, here's what's happening, here's what you need to understand. And, it's real simple. The more socialists that get power, the more dangerous we are towards socialism. And I have things to share with you about the success of socialism today. But we can't let it happen. So, with that said, Jacob Fry is the mayor of Minneapolis. And of course, Tim Walz, Tampon Tim, is, I would say, visibly trying to cover up. He's claiming, he was in a hearing in Congress a few days ago, and he kept saying, oh, we're fixing this stuff. Yeah, we're aware. We're pushing it. We were doing this. We were doing that. And I didn't know about it. I didn't know about this. And I didn't know about that. And then they show him and they go, well, what about this? Well, we're fixing it. No, he's not. He's just as bad as everybody else. He's bad news. Bad news. So as this goes on and continues to go, then you have to say, well, okay, so I'm possibly a future prisoner based on what I've done. So what can I do to help myself? You got two choices. You can admit it and try to work a deal so that you don't go to prison and you didn't manage things as well as you should, and you don't run again, and maybe you can go and get a nice property on the lake and just retire. Or you keep trying to cover up, you keep protecting the people that are guilty of things like the Leering Center. You do that, and then what happens? Well, you'll probably get indicted. Watch what Jacob Fry is doing now. He has gone all the way over to the Somali side, and he's supporting this whole socialism, covering up the fraud, pushing this agenda. And I don't think it's going to work, but watch this.
Through the most difficult of times and through Operation Metro Surge, we all saw that they tried to come for some of us. And when that happens, we say that you're coming for...
They come for some of us, but now we say you're coming for all of us. Yep. All of you, including you, Mr. Mayor, and Tim Walz, is all of us, including the Somalis, and there's others involved, by the way. It's not just Somalis. And all the fraud and They got to get this done before November in case we don't win. Because if we don't, this stuff will be gone in a heartbeat. We continue.
In Minneapolis, we love our neighbors. In Minneapolis, we do not see you as immigrants. We see you as our family. You're our brothers. You are our sisters. You have done so much for this incredible city, and for that, we stand with you.
Wow, we stand with you. Yes, we do. Because right now there's heat coming on us, and we're going to have to dump you and throw you under the bus and try to make everything happen like we weren't any part of it. But you're going to go to jail, or you're going to get deported, or you're going to have whatever's going to happen. I mean, basically, that's what we're talking about here. Because that's the way these people are. It's just like Mamdani with the guy that was running for office in New York that had supported Mamdani. Mamdani gets into office. This other guy runs for office, and he primaries him with somebody that's more socialist than him and knocks him out. There is no loyalty. If you think there is, you're just flat wrong. It's not there. So here he is, Jacob Fry, trying to cover up the mess. You've got Tim Walz trying to cover up the problems in the hearings in Congress. You've got all of these people that are trying to cover things up, while at the same time, socialists are running for office and have a high probability of winning. I mean, follow along here. And what'll happen next? Probably nobody will have the backbone to stop this for November, as far as the Democrats. Plattner, I don't think they're going to do anything about Plattner. They're saying, hey, stay quiet, don't run, we'll get you through, and we'll make you a senator. If you don't think that happens, when it's bad news, they're going to do whatever they have to cover it up. So they're going to do that. So then James Carville is asked by Kayleigh McEnany, just pretty simple question about how are we going to handle this socialist situation. But there's a couple of things he says that I'm going to show you evidence that he's wrong or he's just flat out lying. And you can pick which one it is.
What are your thoughts on Chevalier being a leader of the party potentially?
I don't think that the congressional Democrats should seat her as a member of the Democratic Party. She actually describes herself as a democratic socialist. I don't have anything in common with someone that says that they're against interracial dating or doesn't want to have any incarceration for convicted felons. That's just not who I think the Democratic Party is, and they ought to let her be a democratic socialist. But I don't think they should. You know, you can't kick her out of Congress. She was voted, but she doesn't have to be in a Democratic caucus.
So you want her out of the Democratic caucus, and she's not in isolation. There are other socialists as well, 3 of whom won in New York on Tuesday night. I want to ask you, though, you say she's not the Democratic Party, but we do have this poll that I want to pull up, and it shows that net favorability for socialism within the party is at 66%. So how do you deal with not welcoming them in the party when your base is saying, we're okay with this idea?
Well, first of all, everybody has a different definition of what socialism is. All right, a lot of people on the right say that Social Security is socialism. People in my party do not think, they think it's a good idea. If you're talking about the state controlling production, no, under no circumstances. But socialism is a word that gets thrown around, and most people that use it are not acquainted with what it means. And, you know, you go to places like Scandinavia, who tend to be much more socialist than we are, and they're, if anything, more democratic than we are.
Well, isn't that interesting? So, number one, socialists, you know, that's just a word that nobody really knows what it means. I'd like to think some people know what it means. But more importantly, and probably more damaging to people that don't understand, is they'll vote for them. But he said that he made a statement about the Scandinavian countries and that, they're totally socialist. Well, let's separate socialism for a minute. Separate socialism with socialism like in Vietnam, where they have a capitalistic factor to it. That doesn't make it good, but it makes it a little better. In other words, you can have capitalists in a socialist, so they give more of their money to people that probably don't deserve it, and people that do it deserve. We give money and goods and help to people all the time. So we socialist? He mentioned police and fire. That's not socialist. I guess you could almost say it's socialist. But socialism as the way they want it is a very different story. So take a look at this. This is what is the truth about the the Scandinavian countries. They're not socialists. They're capitalist economies with strong welfare systems and high taxes. Oh, high taxes. True socialism would mean the government owning the means of production, which isn't the case there. They're often called social democracies. So what does that mean? So first of all, look at that real close. They're capitalist economies with strong welfare systems and high taxes. Strong welfare systems, you have to have high taxes to make that happen. That's what we have going on with our friends out in California. It isn't like you can't figure this out if you just pay attention. When you look at it, the taxes are about to go up on gas in California because they have to get more revenue, and they're looking at it and going, okay, with this increase in taxes on gas, with the price of gas, that will create a massive amount of taxes, which gives us a possibility to be able to help more people that are illegal. I don't know how to explain it any other way. It's what it is. It's just what it is. And this wasn't the plan. This wasn't the plan for America when the founders started to develop America, the United States of America. Understand that when there was before the colonies, you had the British America was here. That's where George Washington was, where Thomas Jefferson, all of the founders were already here. And this is when they said, hey, we got to come here with a different approach, and we've got to turn this into a totally different America. Now you could say, well, but that's what we're trying to do now is change America. No, because the founders didn't say, we need to get a way to help way more people. We have to help even more people than we're helping now, which back then it was, you figure it out, buddy. Get a job, work, create something. We'll get into that in a few minutes. So George Washington, little history on Georgie boy. Pretty fascinating. Early life, birth and background. He was born February 22nd, 1732. February 22nd. There's a holiday on that day. His birthplace was Pope's Creek, Virginia, British America. Family, he was the first of 6 children born to Augustine and Mary Ball, Washington. George Washington spent much of his youth at Ferry Farm, a plantation near Fredericksburg, Virginia. His early life was shaped by the customs and expectations of an 18th century Virginia gentleman. So he was only kind of already understanding we're kind of doing it differently. I'm going to give you an example before I get into this education stuff. When you do a merger and acquisition on a business and you make an agreement that the company that you're merging with or you're buying is going to be able to keep their people, their offices and everything wherever they are. They can stay where they are. I can assure you they are not going to operate their company, their division. the same way that the corporate office operates. It just never happens. And it's the same way with these guys. They were in America. They were seeing things and opportunities different than what was happening in Europe, in British America. So at the age of 17, Washington began his career as a surveyor in the Shenandoah Valley. He later joined the British Army during the French and Indian War, which marked the beginning of his military career. He was kind of a genius after he screwed up a bunch of stuff. Washington's journey in America began with his birth in Virginia, and he grew to become a pivotal figure in the United States. What were his major historical contexts surrounding George? Well, again, he was born in Virginia. That's fine. We know all of that part of it. But this period was marked by colonial expansion, tensions with indigenous people, and the beginnings of discontent among colonists regarding British governance and taxation, which would later contribute to the American Revolutionary War. Think about this. This is how America was beginning, because they're looking at this and going, you know what, we've had enough of this craziness of all of the taxes. So they were taxing whoever was working in the British America, because they had to have enough money to pay for the military, pay for all of the things that was happening in the U.S. I get that, but they were taxing them to death. So that's going on. They're having that happen, and there's discontent. So then you get John Adams. Now, John Adams, and take a look at this. John Adams, founding father of the U.S. from 1797 to 1801, founding father, second president of the United States. Before his presidency, he was a leader in the American Revolution that achieved independence from Great Britain. During the latter part of the Revolutionary War and in the early years of the new nation, he served as the Continental Congress of the United States as a senior diplomat in Europe. Adams was the first vice president of the United States, serving from 89 to 97 of the 18th century. He was a dedicated diarist and regularly corresponded with contemporaries, including his wife and advisor, Abigail Adams, and his friend and rival, Thomas Jefferson. Rival? What does that mean? Well, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, now this is important to understand because this ties directly to 2026. They became rivals mainly due to their contrasting political beliefs. Adams was a Federalist, while Jefferson was a Democrat-Republican. Jefferson. These differences shaped their views on government, foreign policy, and the role of the federal government. So, the political rivalry led to personal animosities, especially during the election campaigns, which were marked by, imagine that, mudslinging and accusations. This animosity peaked after the 1800 election, where last-minute appointments by Adams angered Jefferson. By the way, there was eventual reconciliation between these two. It did happen. Common minds. So, federalism and republicanism. Adams supported a strong central government. That's the Democrat. That's the Socialist. Jefferson advocated for states' rights and a more decentralized government. They weren't called Republicans yet. That happened with Abraham Lincoln later in 1860 when they made the Republican Party. Adams was cautious about the French Revolution and favored neutrality, while Jefferson was more sympathetic to the French cause, which, of course, their rivalry was most pronounced during the elections of 1796 and 1800. So there's fights. So in 1796, Adams was elected president, Thomas Jefferson vice president. Adams won narrowly with Jefferson as his running mate. In 1800, incumbent president was Adams. The Jefferson position, he was the challenger. Jefferson defeated Adams, leading to significant political tension. Now, I drag all that out, you might say, for a reason. And the reason is, I'm not going to say simple, but there's a reason for that. And the reason is that you need to understand this isn't something new. This is the biggest piece of it. This is not something that's new. This isn't something that nobody expected. This isn't something that nobody understood. This is what was happening back then and now. What's the difference? The press. It used to be they had some guys rolling out some papers and getting to people, whoever was in the populated areas. There were people who never even knew there was an election. There were people that never voted because they couldn't even get to a place to vote, or because they didn't know what was going on, or they didn't even know the election was going on. That continued for a long time. You have to remember, they didn't have the cell phone that's on my desk. They didn't have the television with the cable news networks. They didn't have people covering up for politicians like they do now with the three major networks and CNN, MS now. They didn't have that. So it's different now. So it gets even more jumbled up and rivalries become more ugly. Wait until you see what happens for 2028 with the Democrat people running for office, for president of the United States. Wow. That could be a show. Pop some popcorn, get a beer, and watch that. And don't get a beer like Elizabeth Warren. Get a beer like you actually drink beer. I don't drink much beer, but I do like a nice bourbon. Anyway, that's another story. Maker's Mark. Anyway, so I want to show you something about socialism. So we've got George Washington, John Adams, and a number of other people it's going to follow through this week that we're going to talk about. But more importantly, socialism. And I've said so many times, it doesn't work. And it certainly wouldn't work in this country because there's more people that are going to fight against it. This is a different time. But socialism for voting is another story. And those young people or middle-aged people, even the older people that think socialism is the answer, well, take a look at this. Nothing says progressive like recycling failed 19th century ideologies. That's the first part of it. So Karl Marx, he never ran a company, never held political office. Do you hear that? That sounds anything like what I've been talking about today with our candidate in Colorado and many others. Never oversaw any accounts, never even held a job, any job. Katie Wilson in Seattle, this chick here in Colorado, not really had jobs, supported throughout his life by his friend Frederick Engels, the son of a wealthy factory owner, considered by many to be the greatest social, political, and economic philosopher of all time. All applications of his theories have ended in failure. Failure. He had 7 children. 4 of them died of starvation. Karl Marx. And 2 committed suicide. Now, if you take 2 plus 4, that's 6. 1 survived. He was supported by his wife throughout his life. Someone like that invented a theory and an ideology about how to change the world without even being able to take care of their own house. So, here's the theory. Create, scratch that out, seize. Lesson 1, never build what you can take. Day 1 at the Communist Academy. You understand what I'm saying here? Does this point make sense to you? it is a dangerous, scary experience where we have people that are literally running for office that will be of huge danger to us. Huge, massive danger. So can we get past this? Yes. Educate the electorate, get them to vote based on knowledge, not by watching CNN and MS Now. Find out what people are doing. Cross-check me. See what successes Karl Marx had. See what success has happened as far as socialist countries. Not. And we can't be socialist. It won't work. But you have to be a capitalist. So capitalism, does that work? Well, let's look at 3 examples. I think I've got 3 here. John Harrison, a clock worker. John Harrison, this is clear back in the 1700s, was an English carpenter and clockmaker who invented the marine chronometer, a long sought after device for solving the problem of how to calculate longitude while at sea. Harrison's solution revolutionized navigation and greatly increased the safety of long-distance sea travel. That's why some of these people that tried to come to the United States, they didn't know where in the hell they were. The problem he solved had been considered so important following the Sicily naval disaster of 1707 that the British Parliament was offering financial rewards up to 20,000 euros under the 1714 Longitude Act, though Harrison never received a full reward due to political rivalries. Once again, 1700s political rivalries. It's just amazing. This is what he created. This is one of the things this guy did. He made watches. Look at this intricacy. He's somebody that could be successful at making things and knew how to make them and was capable of getting the job done when nobody else could do it and being creative. Pretty interesting. The Watt steam engine was invented by James Watt. That was driving force to the Industrial Revolution, according to the Encyclopedia Britannica. You young people don't even know what that is. It was the first truly efficient steam engine, a steam engine, which became a more efficient propulsion. There it is. That's your steam engine. A great big device. Look at that. That's in a museum. So then there was a spinning jenny. It's a significant invention in the history of textile manufacturing. It created during the early Industrial Revolution. It was developed by James Hargreaves between 1764 and 1765. So this is making clothes, guys. This is helping make clothes. Design and functionality, multi-spindle frame. The spinning jenny features multiple spindles, allowing the single worker to spin several threads simultaneously. Initially, it could handle 8 spools, but advancements increased this number to as many as 120. Here is the spinner. So each one of those is a certain thread, and it weaves those threads and makes the clothes. This is an amazing accomplishment. And guess what? This was created in the 1700s with capitalism. They didn't make these just to fix a problem. They knew where they were going to make money. I don't think they had any idea. Kind of like I don't think Henry Ford ever thought that his family would be multi-billionaires by doing what they've done. Or Walmart. Capitalism works. And those that are irritated, jealous because they're billionaires, get a life. Do something to make sense for you. I mean, it's so simple. It's so very simple. Go out and do something. You know, if you're a 35-year-old person, you're working a job, you hate your job, you're sitting in a cubicle, or you're sitting at home with a job that's driving you insane, get creative. Do something. invent something. If you're smart and you're capable, you can do that. It can happen. So the press will push you down. The press will tell you things that aren't true. The press will keep pushing on and pushing off stuff that nobody cares about. Be able to be successful with what we're saying. So, sorry, I lost my broadcast there for a second. Hang in there with me. So I want to show you what I'm talking about here, because this is important. This is
a federal report today predicted possible catastrophic warming of the Earth by the 1990s with the strong climate change.
What the scientists are telling us, we don't get our act together within the next 8 or 9 years. We're talking about cities all over the world, major cities going underwater.
So it's just, and then AOC said everybody's going to die when in 12 years. And now we know, because people are talking about it, guess what? This climate change thing isn't real. And many, many people are starting to recognize this. But they keep pushing it. They keep telling a story instead of the story, because this is what makes them money. And how do they get out of this? How do they say, oh, well, yeah, there wasn't any climate change and there's no global warming. No, that didn't happen. We were mistaken. We believed the bad guys. That's about the best you can hope for. But the press just keeps doing this. And the idea that everything's going to be underwater, he was saying that in 2020, in 8 or 9 years. Well, guess what? We're 6 years down the line now, right? And go to Miami. If anything's going to be underwater as far as growth or change, it would be Miami, because the water is right there. Nothing's underwater. I think they get some water in there sometimes from the tides, but it isn't like it's a catastrophic situation, because I can tell you this, if it was a problem, and if we were sinking Miami, the news would be there every day talking about it, kind of like the reflective pool. So CNN and Caitlin from CNN and a couple of another person with Scott Jennings getting schooled by Scott. Watch this. This is another example of, if you didn't know any better, you would believe these things. Scott Jennings straightens it out.
Look, gas prices are not up. They're down. Below $4 a gallon nationally. Oil's trading at 71.
Keep an eye on their view, the view of these two people that are listening to him talk. It doesn't have quite the smirk at the end.
Barrel. We don't run the gas price tracker on the screen anymore for a reason, you know? I mean, it's because it's a non-story. The pool was vandalized. You keep bringing up the pool. It was vandalized by people who were so broken-brained about our politics that they went out there and vandalized the pool. It's in the court documents, which you can read yourself today. And as it relates to cost, the Republicans cut taxes. Working people all over this country got major tax refunds. We have a booming job market. We have a stock market that's up. Right now, we have an economy that's on the upswing because of Republican policies. And we've got insane Democrats winning primaries promising socialism all over this country. Those are the facts, and that's the argument that will be carried to the election.
Well, this is kind of fascinating, kind of scary. So first of all, we now have proof that it was vandalism that caused the problem in the pool. We also know that when Obama fixed the pool, there was nobody talking about algae, and there was algae. He brought in water from the river. Algae. You're going to have algae. I don't care if you've got the cleanest water on the planet. To sunshine and just things that land into the pool as far as the environment. I mean, I had a pool. My biggest nightmare was trying to balance the water, because if you didn't, it turned as green as peas. And that's what happens. And you've got this great big pool, and there's been algae there forever. Always has been. You know, this is why we have to, if you don't watch it regularly, if you don't spend some time watching the news on the left side and the right side, then you're not going to know. You're just not going to know. If you watch CNN and MS Now and ABC, CBS, NBC, you're not going to know the whole story. You're not going to hear the story. If everybody would just tell the truth, including saying anything bad about Trump, you can say he's a bad guy. You don't like what he says. He did this and it doesn't look like it's working out, but here's what's working. Just report the news. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? I would think so. So, with that said, another little piece of this political process going up to not just 26, but 28. Who's been on TV more as a Democrat, more right now than we've seen in a long time? One single person. Can anybody think of it? I mean, it's a good question, and I can tell you that you're going to be able to, you may be able to figure it out. The answer is Ro Khanna, the one that a lot of people, including my wife, Marie, believe that he was a moderate. He was kind of a good guy. He is a left-wing socialist. So with that, he is trying to be in front of the camera as much as he can, because I would put a 60 to 70% chance that he's going to run for president, be one of those people on the stage for 2028. Watch him being interviewed. He had an interview with Sean Ryan. Sean Ryan was asking him about Epstein, and listen to his answers. This is interesting.
Have you heard from the survivors?
Yeah.
What are they saying?
One of them I'll call back to. She texted me yesterday. She said there's a man in the files who hasn't gotten enough attention. I want you to call that person out. I'm going to call her back today to say, because he really was responsible for raping young girls, and the media hasn't focused on him. So some of them are alerting me to things they're seeing in the files. You know,
Here's the point. Can I ask you who it is? Watch him fumble through this and get pretty twitchy. This is amazing.
Who that is?
I don't. I can give you. I'll give Jeremy the information after, if I get her permission with the survivor, the survivor's permission. But I'll certainly. I was planning to call her on the airport back to California.
Oh man, what? So he has no evidence. He's the same as Adam Schiff. He's the same as Swalwell. They all claim they've got information nobody else has. They've got people talking to him that nobody knows about. He's got the information, but he's not going to tell you. It's his secret. That's why we're in the spot we're in. People are believing this guy, believing that he is the answer. He's going to get Donald Trump. That's what they're after. He's going to get Donald Trump because he was involved with Epstein, which we now know he wasn't. And he's going to get him in big trouble. No, he's not. They just can't let go. That's it. That's day one of the 250 celebration of 5 days right here on Framers View. Please join me tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. We've got more. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the 1800s as far as history, the presidents that were in office. We're going to talk about the things that happened. It was kind of a war that happened in the 1800s. I'm not sure what it was. I'll have to research that. But we're going to have stories on that and remind you that Lincoln's the guy that started the Republican Party. And Lincoln is the guy that freed the slaves. And Lincoln is the guy that was assassinated because he did that. We'll never know the total truth about that, but it's so clear. Hey, I'll see you tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Hang in there and do your best. Till then, rock on.
Thanks for your support. Join the Framers View Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for your support. Join the Framers View Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for your support. Join the Framers View Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern.